Welcome to this month's Demystifying the Microsoft Cloud. I'm Mark Sherry, your host. We have a great show for you today, so I hope you guys are ready to kick back, take some notes, ask some questions, and just have a great time this afternoon. Before we start, here's a bit about me. I was a Microsoft account executive in the Cleveland area, and I came back to services where my heart is at Bennett Adelson. Bennett Adelson is a local technology consulting firm based in Cleveland, actually. They were notorious for quality work, and that's what you're going to get when you engage with us. So I have to give you a little commercial here. We also have a special guest today, Jason Kondo. I'm thrilled to have him on. Jason is our practice director over advanced infrastructure, so welcome, Jason. I call Jason our gentle giant since he's about 9 feet tall of pure, ferocious technical muscle. I actually hear once that he carried an entire rack of servers, with one hand, mind you, from one customer room to the next in a data center migration. He did this with each of the 25 racks until the migration was complete. Isn't that true, Jason?
I think there's a bit of exaggeration there, Mark, but yeah.
Maybe just a little. But that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, so again, it is great to have everyone on this fine Thursday afternoon. We have an hour of pure practical, technical, and just downright fun review of this session where we're going to cover M365. So for those of you who haven't heard that term or just plain confused by it, welcome to Microsoft's wacky world of acronyms. So just take your MLS, see if you have an EA or an MPSA or SCE, and find out if you have M365, which consists of O365, EMS, W10. So as you can see, it gets confusing. And for those who haven't heard this, let's just take a step back. A few years ago, Microsoft had an offering called ECS, which stood for Enterprise Cloud Suite. This gave you Office 365, which is email, instant messaging, calling, collaboration, etc. EMS, Enterprise Mobility Suite, which is basically mobile device management, and Windows OS, at the time Windows 8. So the offering covered a lot, most of what any business needs. And since security was such a big part of it, Microsoft, the branding connoisseurs they are, they decided to change the name from ECS to SPE, or Secure Productive Enterprise. Thank you, Microsoft. Well, if that wasn't confusing enough, just recently in the last 9 or 10 months or so, they've rebranded the offering to Microsoft 365, or M365. So the offering is still made up of Office 365, EMS, which is now rebranded Enterprise Mobility Suite, or rebranded Enterprise Mobility plus Security, and Windows 10. So their goal, I think, is to demonstrate that their software and services are there for you 365 days a year. And that's demonstrated across the board in their cloud offerings. CRM and ERP are now called Dynamics 365 or D365. And then you have your Office 365 as well and M365. So that is their goal, to be there for you. On board. Nothing earth-shattering at this point. I just want to make sure we review that history. I've been surprised meeting with CIOs, IT directors, system admins, and they're fairly unfamiliar with the history and the offering as a whole. And I get it, because it keeps changing, and you have to almost have a doctorate in Microsoft to keep current. Okay, so let's dive in. Here is our agenda. So we're going to cover a few things. One, I'm just going to give a brief overview about Bennett Adelson. Just a brief commercial, maybe a minute tops. Then I'm going to go through what you get with M365. Then I'm going to go through what's involved in deploying M365. Just kidding. That's actually our special guest, Jason Kondo. He's going to talk about what's involved in deploying it. We'll talk about our proven methodology, and then we'll finish off with a Q&A. So I hope everybody likes how I'm taking all the easy questions and leaving Jason the Gentle Giant with the hard ones. And it's only because I know he can handle it. I mean, I think he could cover these topics while concurrent with curling 5 storage arrays without a load balancer. All right, so I think Jason might have just left the meeting to go get his SANs to prove my point. And at least I hope that's why he left the meeting. Okay, so let's start with Ben Adelson in a nutshell. So as you can see, we have won numerous Partner of the Year awards, regionally and nationally. And one of the ones I like the best is our CIO review, naming us top 100 most promising Microsoft Solutions partners. So our goal is one-stop shop for enterprise customers. We provide technology solutions in these 8 practice areas, if you could see on the wheel. And as you know, enterprise business needs are complicated and challenging. And these 8, I had to see it to believe it, are really just amazing how we bring our breadth and depth of technical expertise across these 8 into each project that we engage on. Okay, so let's get into it. Numero uno, what you get with M365. So go ahead and take a look here at my screen sharing session and tell me what you see. You should see 2 options with M365. You have your E3 and you have your E5. So to prevent toggling and getting a whiplash effect from going back and forth between slides, I'm going to start with E3 and I'm going to then move on to E5. Okay, so let's go through this from left to right. Office 365 E3. Well, it's going to be broken down into applications and services. And that's not too complicated. It's exactly how it sounds. For applications, you're going to get your full Office Pro Plus. And by the way, you're going to get including your I think we got a little bit of static from someone in the call. Welcome to the meeting. If you wouldn't mind muting just for a little time. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So Office Pro Plus, that is on up to 5 devices, Macs or PCs, in addition to mobile devices. I mean, gosh, that's generous of Microsoft, and I say that not sarcastically at all. They're not just web accessible. You get the actual desktop versions of Office 2016. You get your Outlook, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and OneNote, plus Access and Publisher for PC only. Okay, so it's pretty simple on the applications. Let's go down to services. Exchange. Exchange is email. This is email hosting. Now they give you a 100 gig mailbox and custom email domain address. You also get manual retention and deletion policies and manual classifications, file storage and sharing with unlimited OneDrive. You can leverage your communication insights for intranet using SharePoint. You get Hub for teamwork with Microsoft Teams. You can do IM, video meetings with SharePoint. With Skype for Business. And you can also have kind of like a social media tool for your business, and collaborate across your departments and locations with Yammer. You also have e-discovery with in-place search, hold, and export. You can manage your schedules and daily staff with tasks with Microsoft Staff Hub. And then you can manage your tasks and teamwork with Microsoft Planner. So it's pretty comprehensive for a business. And that's high level. Just go ahead, and I know there are questions that people have. Go ahead and write down your questions and save them for the end. We will have a time to address those. So let's move on to EMS. EMS E3. It stands for Enterprise Mobility and Security. This is basically a suite of tools that's going to give you extra control over your company's data. It's going to provide identity-driven security solution that offers a holistic approach to security challenges in, frankly, this mobile-first, cloud-first era. That's what everybody's focused on, mobile-first, cloud-first. There are 4 components of EMS. You get your Azure Active Directory Premium Plan 1, Microsoft Intune, Azure Rights Management, and Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics. So overall, you can think of EMS as device management, and it's virtual identity management suite. The big deal about Azure Active Directory Premium is that it enables single sign-on to the cloud, software and on-premise software. So with one password, you can access almost everything, including thousands of software as a service cloud apps. Some other useful features include conditional access, where you can block people from logging in based on various factors. The promise of single login applies to any device, including iOS and Android. Multi-factor authentication. You can use things like SMS verification or even biometric scanning to verify identity. Reporting on logins and the metadata associated with access requests. All right, so on to Windows Enterprise. Windows E3. This is your Windows 10. That's what we're talking about. E3 is the new name for Windows with software assurance. E3 refers to what was previously called Windows 10 Enterprise with SA, or software assurance. So there's no change for purchases via all volume license programs from Open to Enterprise. So here are some neat features that you get. Device Guard. This feature is going to let you, or it allows your devices to be restricted to running only trusted software. So whether it's traditional desktop, Windows Store, or in-house apps. Also, Credential Guard. This is pretty cool. So it's going to offer you additional security for login details by storing your derived credentials. Windows To Go Creator. It's going to allows for creation of a bootable desktop image identical to the one businesses use to set its PCs. You get start screen control, VDI enhancement, managed user experience, application virtualization or AppV, direct access. A lot of the stuff you got with Windows 8 but enhanced. Okay, so that's it for E3. Again, nothing earth-shattering. This is pretty high level. If you aren't familiar with this, I can send you this deck afterwards for your review. And do you see how it's really enterprise security from the data to the identity to the device? And that's Microsoft's motto in regards to this. It's comprehensive security suite. All right, so that's E3. Let's move on to E5. So this should be a fairly quick discussion. Remember that everything we just discussed in E3 is what you will get with E5, but much more. It's mostly focused on advanced security, but there are going to be other features as well. So again, we'll start with Office 365. We're going to break this down into security, analytics, and voice. So for security, you get ATP, Advanced Threat Protection. It's an add-on, but it's a great extra security for your zero-day threats. That's a hot topic. I think a lot of people overlook how valuable this tool is in their organization. Customer Lockbox, you can control how support accesses your mailbox. Advanced data governance, auto classification, smart import, and more. And then you get your Office 365 Cloud App Security. So it assesses risk and gain insight into potential threat. So you see, it's mostly around security at this point. Analytics. This is another hot topic. Everybody is looking at how to monetize their data and see their data. So you get Power BI Pro and Delve with this. So this is basically advanced personal and organizational analytics, and it's useful dashboards that show you how you use your time for Delve. And then for voice and communications, you get Skype meeting broadcasts. You can host meetings for up to 10,000 people. Probably not a lot of organizations need that, but if in case they do, that's there. Dial-in conferencing, you can dial in from the road or anywhere. Cloud PBX, it's going to allow you to search, sign, and manage all your company's phone numbers in the cloud. And then add-on calling plan, make domestic or international calls from current or new phone numbers. And then lastly, audio conferencing, where you can create meetings with a dial-in number that attendees can join by telephone. So we'll jump to the last one, Windows E5. So E5, Windows 10 E5, is going to give you a new security service called Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection. That's a mouthful. So this is going to be a cloud service that takes behavioral data from sensors built into Windows 10 and give you insights. It's going to give you detections, recommended responses. So no matter what anti-malware products installed on your PC, it's only as good as the known threat has been designed to block. The ATP service looks at behavior and reduces the impact of a compromise, either of a device itself or a user interaction. All right, so I hope everybody's with me. I hope no one fell asleep at the wheel, especially. This is all kind of spec driven, what's in M365. That's the point of this. This is what you get with E3. This is what you get with E5. Okay, so everyone get ready, because if you thought that was cool, and I hope you did, get ready for Gentle Giant Jason to walk through his high level deploying M365. And so, Jason, take it away, good sir.
Great, thanks a lot, Mark. So here we'll talk about what's involved in moving to O365 for you. First, we'll start with Windows 10. We know that Windows 10 has a lot of improvements on deployment and automation, and the focus of getting it out into an organization is a lot different than it has been in the past with Windows 7 and Windows 8. From the focus of how we drive forward with that, we're looking at environment readiness, Windows as a service, focusing on security of the OS. Windows 10 gives us a lot more security options than we had in previous versions of Windows. So the security baselines and just even some of the virtualization of how we protect credentials and protect applications and protect data on the system is kind of a new paradigm shift for enterprises, and working with them and helping them get that implemented is helpful. I'm sorry, I'm going to mute some people who just joined. We also have then service enablement. So shifting from Windows 10 to then being able to leverage the rest of the cloud services that you get with M365, whether that be Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, Teams, Flow, Power BI, all of that. All of that starts from a core foundational standpoint of service enablement. That's where we're dealing with identity and how we authenticate users into the cloud from your enterprise, that federation, and then securing those identities to ensure that who is accessing the cloud service actually is who's supposed to be accessing the cloud service. Unlike today's enterprises where everything's inside your enterprise, and if they get into the building and are accessing it from your computer, you can probably be pretty sure that that's the person that's supposed to be getting the data. Once we move to the cloud, that shifts for us. We don't have that luxury of being able to verify that the user who's putting in the credentials is the user putting in the credentials. The great thing is O365 has plenty of security around it that allows us to help build additional parameters that mimic our on-premise security features. That's one of the reasons that Windows 10 is thrown into the M365 suite, because the additional technology features that are being built into Windows 10 are meant to enable that off-premise environment. Because as we know today, our boundaries are shifting and becoming more malleable, and our tight-gripped controls that we used to have on enterprise and devices and who owns it and where they're accessing it from is becoming more difficult to manage and control. Moving from, as well with the service enablement, the important piece on that is security, helping define rules around conditional access, rules around leveraging Intune or mobile application management, which you're getting with the EM plus S, or the EMS suite, and also focusing on the compliance center. So not only are we securing it, but how do we ensure that it's secured and identify when a compromise might have occurred or when something just risky may have happened that we want to be notified on and investigate. So then we move on to a foundation for leveraging the O365 services, which is Office 365 Pro Plus. So working with an organization to set up telemetry, ensure compatibility, and then help them build installs and do rollout of the Office suite as another foundation to be ready to consume O365 services. One of the first primary services we generally see go in place is Exchange Online. So that migration of messaging to messaging on the cloud. We see on-premise Exchange migrations. We see hosted Exchange migrations. We're doing those now. Lotus Notes migrations, group-wise migrations. We have experience in all of those, know the intricacies of coexistence during a migration, the importance of maintaining services and reliability, and that coexistence between people who've been migrated and people that are yet to be migrated. And that can actually be a challenging endeavor, but we've been doing this a long time and know the in and outs of that. As well with that, you have to focus on email hygiene. So what are we doing to make sure that the mail that's being routed in O365 is clean, that we're cleaning the spam out, that we're preventing viruses, and as well that we're making sure that data is not leaving the organization through email that shouldn't be. So helping the organization set up data protection rules, rights management, and even email retention, which is really important now with GDPR. So, and then we move on to the other services. We've got Skype for Business and setting up and enabling voice and connecting in through that cloud PBX or your on-prem PBX. We have SharePoint services. So coming in, and SharePoint's really the next foundational service that we see go, and that's because it pretty much everything that we do within SharePoint then is there for the rest of the services, whether it be OneDrive for Business, Teams, Team Sites, or just moving your intranet across. So we can come in and help work with your business to figure out what is the best configuration for SharePoint to fit within your business processes, and then as well set up the proper governance around SharePoint, so that way you can enable and manage OneDrive for Business and enable internal sharing, enable external even sharing, as well as putting in the rights management and the DLP around it. One of the great things about all of these services is they're all combined. So one, you have simplistic coexistence between them. We have single identity between them, and we also have single e-discovery and compliance around it. So the rules that we put in for SharePoint are the same rules that can be going in for OneDrive for Business. So those data protection rules, the DLP rules that we'd be implementing, roll across all of those services. As well, anything that we're doing then in those services is then fully e-discoverable to your compliance team. So if users are having communications in Teams, having communications in Skype, sending it through emails, discussing it in Yammer, any of those things, all of that all falls within the same e-discovery scope and then can be leveraged when you need to. For the OneDrive for Business, our focus around that is helping you understand the needs. Mark had talked about how you have basically unlimited OneDrive. It's not fully unlimited. Microsoft did put some controls around it because they found organizations doing full data center backups to a OneDrive, and not really what it was meant for. But so Microsoft did put some bounds around the size of that OneDrive. You do have controls around how much you want to consume of it per user. Not per user, but as a global across the tenant. So they start out with a 1 gig terabyte or 1 gig OneDrive, but you can expand that to whatever your needs are there. And then working with the
I think we might have lost Jason. Can everybody still hear us? Nilesh, Nick?
I can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Let's see here. Let's give him a...
Yeah, I was going to say he's still on the call, so I imagine...
Yeah, I think, guys, ignore the complications. Nothing to do with Office 365.
Sorry, no, my phone just disconnected.
We'll blame it on something else.
I think Oracle's hacking the system.
There you go.
I think I lost my screen share. Let me... All right, can everybody see?
Oh, maybe that's why it dropped.
All right, you're good, Jason.
Okay, great. So the focus there is then if you want to deciding what data you want to move up into the OneDrive. Organizations sometimes choose not to move any data and just have users start using it, or they decide that they're going to move home drives and data like that up from the local PC or the local network into the OneDrive. We do have organizations that get rid of file shares leveraging SharePoint and OneDrive. So it is possible, and it is capable of handling that. The last thing is then configuring security and compliance. So making sure we talked about it all the way through here, but that is an important aspect that this service provides for us. No, I don't. I'm just speaking to this. I'm not. We don't have slides for the things I'm talking to. And then I'm just about finished here. But how we do this is we start with workshops in which we bring both your team. We bring your team up to speed with the Microsoft technologies, the information, the requirements, so that way everybody is on the same page about what is possible, what the technical limitations are, what the business limitations are, so that way everybody is on the same page as we move forward. We move then into what we call blueprinting, in which we help you plan out what this looks like on the other side for you. We're doing discovery. We're working with your teams to identify the technical requirements, the business requirements, and any limitations that we have in implementation, and then developing best recommendations around that. When we come out of the blueprinting phase, one, not only will you have a document that really details out what the solution will be, but we also have the information as to what it's going to take to get there. So we'll have an idea as to what really the scope of effort is for you, what your licensing costs are, what your hardware costs are, what your timeframes are going to be, and then from that standpoint, you can decide at what pace you want to move forward, or whether it even makes sense for you to move forward. So you may go through that endeavor and say, you know what, SharePoint just doesn't. It's not going to work for us. There's way too much that we have to do, and there's no way that we can afford to do it or have time to do it. And that's the point of that blueprint. It's not to start enabling and then get halfway down the road and then find out that wasn't the right move. And then what do? Cut bait and lose all the money. So from there, we move on to environment readiness and service enablement. And that's where we're really building out the environment, remediating your environment, and really getting all the services ready for you then to move forward. One of the key things there is whatever we're doing in that service enablement phase pretty much will enable all the rest of the services as you're ready then to adopt them. We then move into piloting. So that's actually where we're stabilizing and validating that the readiness works. And then our focus on the pilot is not only the technical, but also the business and the process. So support processes, service requests, communications, leveraging Focal Point, our Focal Point 365 tool to perform those communications and communication plans for you, and then set you up for your controlled migrations. The controlled migrations are at your pace. There are some workloads and some organizations that are easy at doing cutovers, so we can shove lots of users very quickly through the organization and up into the services. And we've had other organizations that like to take a more controlled and phased approach, and there's nothing wrong with that either. And they just want to have more control over that rollout. Either way works for moving into M365, and we work well with either one of those. The last phases is then operational transfer. So we're working with your team through all of this, and the focus is to train your team, mentor your team, and help them understand the why, the how, and the how to enable moving forward. So not only do you understand how we configured it and why it was set up that way, the decisions around it, but also as you want to enable new services, the right decisions you need to make to use those services. Our focus is partnering with you and with Microsoft in finding the good match between your business and Microsoft's recommendations to find the good match. Now we're going to push towards the Microsoft recommendation when we can, because that's going to set you up in the future to adopt new technologies as they're coming down the pipe without major rework of your organization, business processes, or anything around that. So with that, Mark, I'll be happy to hand it back over to you and
Awesome.
Let you take it from there.
Thank you, Jason. Great job. I love how you simplified this as much as possible, and yet showed that there's complexity to implementation. Enterprise businesses, they need a partner. That's the bottom line. If you can do this and you've done this many times as a business, then great. By all means, take it up. We're not saying that the partner you choose needs to do everything, but you need best practices. You need guidance. You need someone to come in and consult you on the direction you should take and how you can get there. So that's why I want to talk about us. And by the way, before the end, we're about to get to questions, Q&A. There's a lot of material here, so hang in there. Keep your questions in mind. Also, I want to look for your feedback for next time. I want this to be an enjoyable podcast type monthly event around different relevant topics for organizations, and I'm all about your feedback. Okay, so let's talk about us just briefly, because of course we have to. All right, that's why we're here. So why Bennett Adelson? I can't even say the name right? So first, when I was at Microsoft, I worked with a lot of partners, and I really did find BA to be notorious for the best quality custom work, hands down. I mean, everyone has a pitch, and there are a couple compelling reasons why I think you should work with us to one degree or another. So first and foremost, I'm going to be your account executive. I'm going to take care of you through thick and thin, and that's my commitment. I stay up late worrying about your business. I want you to be successful. Everyone knows that projects can be bumpy, although they don't need to be. I'm going to be there to hold your hand the entire way to make the ride less bumpy and actually enjoyable. So next reason is we're local. Come to my office, shake my hand, look me in the eye. We have offices in Cleveland and Columbus. We're trusted. We've been around a long time. We've done a lot of these successful projects. And really, at the end of the day, we take care of our customers front to back. As Jason discussed, we've proven processes and methodologies and deep technical experience. So this is our bread and butter. This is what we do. We've done this hundreds of times, and we know how to do it best and quickly. Equally as important, quickly. All right, so that's your commercial. Let's tie this all back to the beginning. Here, I guess this is gonna be another commercial. So who is Ben Adelson? Well, we went over that from a high level perspective. Let's dig into these real briefly. We have these 8 practice areas. We cut our teeth in architecture and development. I think we are the absolute best at architecture and development. If you have a development project in the area, call me. I promise you, if you have an RFP, whatever it is, we're going to do a great job. We're doing a lot of cutting edge stuff in BI, artificial intelligence, machine learning. We've got a predictive analytics workshop. We will talk with you and prepare you and make you successful for trends that every company, frankly, is taking going forward. Advanced infrastructure, we just talked about that for a while. We play really well. Jason is our practice director. As you can tell, he's well tenured, experienced, and knows his stuff. So connected systems, we can make your systems all communicate properly. Information worker, that's your SharePoint, your extranet, intranet, governance, line of business solutions. I will send you a document with all of our work, screenshots that you can see, the websites we've done, internal and external, and you can see the look and feel of it and experience how what the quality of work we've been talking about. So user experience, how does it look and feel to the end user? We also have mobility solutions. We've talked about that a bit today, and then dynamics. So that's, again, another deeper commercial. Here are a few of our customers. If you want to just take a look, we work with a lot of enterprise type customers, a lot of large businesses, many more than this. These are just the ones we can fit on one slide. If you're a small business on this call, I don't want to deter you away. We have a great offering for small businesses, and I came from the small medium corporate sector of Microsoft, and I want to show the small medium corporate sector, whether it's healthcare or financial or insurance, you name it, manufacturing. I want to show them how great we've done for the larger businesses and taking care of them, and show the smaller corporations that we'll take care of you as well. Okay, so let's do some Q&A, and we are right on track. We've got 22 minutes to go. Feel free to unmute or type it in the box. Robert, thank you for catching that earlier on the slides. I was frankly lagging, so I appreciate you interacting there and correcting me. So, folks, what do you have? Whatever. By the way, I'll just also preface it with this. Whatever we don't know the answer to, I will get very quickly. But ask away, and then we'll tie it off with a beautiful thank you slide I put together.
Hey, Mark, I'm going to unmute the people who are just on dial-in, so that way they can, there is a keypad punch that they can punch in, but I don't remember what it is offhand, so I'll just unmute them in case they want to talk.
Awesome, thank you. And I'll have Google up ready and steady to give you the answers. I'm kidding.
No.
That's your Google sales guide for you. Yeah, I know that. Let me Google it real quick.
You've got good Google foo skills, huh?
Right. Nick, I feel like you're maybe even better than me at that, but you're very well coordinated in that. So, any questions, guys? How much Jason can lift? How tall is he actually?
Any questions around the different O365 services, or even as we talk about M365, we talked about ATP and some of the technologies that Microsoft is leveraging when you go to the E5, and necessarily why those are additional cost items or things like that.
Not all at once, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything at all, guys. So what I had for lunch today, Thai, thank you very much. It was awesome. Went out with a potential customer. It was delicious. If you are in Independence, Thai Gourmet, here's a commercial for them. Highly recommend it. All right, hey, look at that. You're going to save some time in your day. Thank you. Please call me. Visit with me. This is an investment on your part, taking the time. I'm going to have another one next month. I trust you learned something today, and you've, to one degree or another, benefited. Please reach out to us with any questions afterwards if you're just shy to ask over the phone. Here's my info. I believe you have it in the email I sent. So thanks to everyone. Really appreciate it, and have a wonderful day. We'll catch you soon.